The concept of dual dynamic drivers. Now, is it actually necessary? Well, technically no, because there are many great sounding earphones out there with only a single dynamic driver. However, in this case, we have 4 earphones here that will tell you otherwise. Hi, my name is Tom and welcome to Honest Student Budget. Today we will be looking at these 4 different earphones that vary in terms of price range from $39 as of right now all the way to $129. So these earphones, despite having a different price range, all share a single characteristic, which is the fact that each earpiece in these earphones hold 2 dynamic drivers, which is very unique and very different because most traditional earphones, especially under $100 approximately, only have a single dynamic driver. So this is a very different concept out there, and I think it's really worth noting, which is why I'm making this comparison video. Now, before we start this comparison video, I'd just like to let you know that I'm going to be putting a link to my thread over on HeadFi in the description below, which will be talking specifically about this dual dynamic driver comparison. So if you have any specific questions about these earphones at the end of this video, you can always ask me there as well, and I'm sure a lot of other viewers and a lot of other users will be able to chime in and provide their input, and it will generate a lot of good discussion as well. So I'm sure you're definitely going to get a lot of help there as well. But if you have any urgent or burning questions to ask me, you can always ask me in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer it. And as you can see here, I created a chart here kind of as a quick reference tool to compare these earphones. If you want full in-depth reviews of each of these earphones, you can click it in the annotation above the names of each of these earphones here. This chart is also going to be like kind of a shortcut, and it'll take you to, if you click on the specific numbers on your screen, and I'm going to put an annotation on each of the numbers, it'll take you to that specific section that I'm talking about in the actual full in-depth review. So if you want to look at the actual build quality of the Havii B3 Pro 1, you can click this on your screen right here, and it'll take you to that specific section in that review. So let's dive right in. In terms of build quality, the single most well-built earphone in this comparison video is the Brainwaves R3. Now, the Brainwaves R3 take number 1 because of its solid and entirely metal housing, very thick and very well relieved cables. So, and I actually called these or nicknamed these earphones as the Hummer amongst earphones out there, because I think that these earphones are just very reassuring and very durable, and I can find myself and I can see myself using this earphones for many years down the line. Coming in at number 2, this is the JVC FXT90s. So the FXT90s, I think, is a very good middle ground in terms of the actual build quality, because the cables and the overall build quality on the earphones is right in the middle. It's not overly thick and chunky, which I think the R3s are at times, and the weight of the R3's cable sometimes bounce around and kind of when you're walking out and about, and it's not on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is being thin and fragile and just being it doesn't not inspiring any confidence as well. So I think the cables here are very supple, very flexible, and very well relieved as well. And I actually think that this cable is actually one of my favorites, especially if you're going to be using this for portable purposes, because it just feels very reassuring overall, and at the same time, as I stated before, it doesn't feel overly chunky. Coming up at number 3, the Havii B3 Pro 1s. The Havii B3 Pro 1s are actually very well built for their price. They have this Gorilla Glass faceplate here, which is very impressive, and it feels very nice in the hand. It is missing a little bit of strain relief over here at the actual housing itself, but overall the strain relief is not bad in terms of the Y-shaped split and the actual L-shaped connector as well. So that's why the Haviis are at number 3. Bringing up the rear, the TTPod T1Es. The reason why I placed them at this last place here is because, as you see here, all I did here was place these earphones on the table and it kind of coiled up into a ball. So these earphones, the cables itself carries a little bit of a memory to it, and it kind of becomes a little bit of a chore to untangle this at times. So this is why I put it at number 3. However, I think this is pretty well built for their price. I paid about $39 for it, so I really can't complain about that. Now, jumping into the comfort section, the JVC FXT90s are the single most comfortable earphone in this comparison by far, and that's because for a pair of dual dynamic drivers, having 2 speakers or 2 drivers in each of these earphones, they are very small, and these earphones have a housing that's very well rounded and very smooth finishing as well. So these earphones slip into my ears very comfortably and very effortlessly. So I think that for a pair of earphones in general, they are very comfortable, not even just in a dual dynamic driver comparison. Now coming in at number 2, this is the Havee B3 Pro 1. The Havees are number 2 because they actually have this over ear kind of design, which I always find very comfortable and sits well in my ear. And the actual nozzles themselves are not too long and not too short as well. So they're not too long that they dig into your ears too deeply, and they're not too short in the sense that they sit very shallowly and not secure as well. But however, I would say that if you're someone with small outer ears, you might not find the Havees to be the most comfortable, because there are a little bit of an edges here, as I don't know if the camera can pick it up, that might rub into your ear cartilage, so it might not be the most comfortable experience. Now coming up at number 3, it's actually a two-way tie between the Brainwaves R3 and the TT Pod T1Es. So the TT Pods here are, as you can see here, have very short nozzles, and the Brainwaves R3 in comparison has a very long nozzle. So they're tied in this category, but for different reasons. So the TT Pods here have a very large housing, first of all. So because of that, these earphones are going to be rubbing up against your ears in a little bit more an uncomfortable manner, unless you find you have more patience in finding the right pair of ear tips that are a little bit longer, because these earphones have very shallow nozzles. So you're going to have to find bigger ear tips and also longer ear tips so that these earphones sit more shallowly in your ear. So the reason why the Brainwaves R3 is at number 3 as well, because the R3s here, again, similar with the TT Pods here, have a very large housing. These are actually the biggest in terms of all 4 of these earphones here. So, and the Brainwaves R3, because the fact that they sit a little more deeply into your ears, they might not be the most comfortable experience for someone that doesn't want to basically shove earphones too deep into your ear, because the actual nozzle here is quite wide, so it does rub up against your ear canal a little bit more than usual. So you're gonna again have to be a little more patient in finding the right pair of ear tips for these to sit more comfortably into your ear. Now in terms of isolation, the most isolating earphone in this comparison is the Havee B3 Pro 1, and then coming in at number 2 would be the JVC FXT 90s, and number 3 is another two-way tie between the Brainwaves R3 and the TT Pod T1s, and that's because the Brainwaves R3 has multiple vents on the actual earphones themselves, which kind of hinder the isolation a little bit, and the TT Pods here are number 3 because they actually have more of a shallow fit, and as a result, these earphones don't isolate as well as the Havee B3 Pro 1 and the JVC FXT9. Now, in terms of pricing, as you can see here, the TT Pod T1Es are the most affordable earphones of the bunch, and then coming in at number 2 is the Havee B3 Pro 1, and then the JVC FXT90 and the Brainwaves R3 as of right now. However, as you can see here at the MSRP, the FXT90s were originally priced at $150, and they've come down in price quite a bit since then. So I think that JVC FXT90s are just a little bit of a spoiler. I think it's an absolute steal at its current price right now, and I really recommend you guys scoop it up. And now we're going to jump right into the sound quality section, the one that you've all been waiting for. Click right here to the link to the part 2 of this video, and it'll take you right to the sound quality section.